All right, welcome to episode 88 of my FX Buddies, the podcast. And I say podcast because there's video content, there's a transcript, which you can find at rss.com under my FX Buddies. There's a blog, and the blog is where you should go because it has everything there. All the articles I'm going to talk about and the video that I actually do, which is hosted on Rumble. So if you like Rumble, my FX Buddies, then what else? So YouTube, if you are listening to this on YouTube, it's not a video. It may appear to be a video, but it's not. So if you want to see the video, look below what appears to be a video and you'll see the word more. Click on the word more, another box opens, and then the link to the blog is there. And wherever you are enjoying this content, look for a more description, info, details, something like that. If you click on that, it should have a link to the blog. Or you could find the blog at myfxbuddies.blogspot.com or try myfxbuddies.com, but you have to use HTTPS as in Sam in front of it. And I think that's it. Oh, Spotify.com. Also, myfxbuddies video content may be there if you are paid. The window's open because it's hot, and so you could probably hear all those vehicles. Forgive me, but I have to do this now or it won't get done. All right. Spotify.com, audio, video. I believe that's it. All right, so we're going to get right into it. This is 3 days worth of news. There's a lot of articles. There's no way I'm going to cover all of them. So I suggest you go to the blog to read the ones that you prefer to read. There's some I'm going to focus on because there's been some revelations, some new info out. Okay, so if you noticed, today is Sunday, July 28th. This should post. It's early enough where it should post July 28th. It covers Friday, Saturday, and Sunday news. All right, 5 billion dinar, right, of state funds as a grant to parties, a new challenge to the 2024 budget. So I know it says a new challenge, but I'm not exactly sure that it is because looky here. So they have 4 documents, but one is like a table, and they don't translate well. But look what they've done. You see these circles here? They have blotted out the date. So this seal right here may have a date. But whatever. I mean, if they went through all that trouble, why even look, right? Here, this is probably a date because this is a signature, and there's probably a date there. So, I mean, I could look it up, but why, right? So, we do know now for sure that there was a court case, a court filing, and they're awaiting the issuance of a decision. And it's over this 5 billion dinars allocated to political parties, which none of this money, that's my phone, none of this money in this budget is supposed to go to political parties. So that's a no-no right there. And then if you're paying attention, if you're keeping up with this, then you know the last blog that I did, they had revealed 15 billion dinars right? There was a discrepancy of 15 billion. So, yeah. So it's just the next little bit of information that they've put out that they want us to know. But we are well past the 15 days. Remember, they said in 15 days. So the courts did have it. They sent it back to Sadani. Sadani uncovered, revealed, whatever, 3 different sets of budget schedules. He was like, no, this isn't right. So then where we ended up last time was it appeared they knew what happened. They were going to determine the right, true, correct, accurate budget schedule, get that posted and move forward. But then this came out yesterday. I believe it came out yesterday. So who knows? But the letter says here pretty much the same thing. It just has more information. It notes here Article 44 of Political Parties Law, right? So if you want to read all this boring stuff, you can. But so they also kind of say at the bottom here, okay, yeah, so we broke that law, right? It wasn't supposed to go to political parties. But here, what you can do is you determine who that money goes to. Who evaluates these parties so that we can say they deserve the financial grant. See? So they're trying, whoever it is, right, is trying not to get in trouble. Because I do believe the person who, I think it's this person right here, Amir Al-Maamouri. I think he's the one who filed the complaint or whatever. And then this person right here is the legal person who's deciphering all of this for us, right? And this was on TV. They did go over the 4 pages. But even on the other one, so there was one that was a table, one that just didn't look helpful at all. The other one also had the dates blotted out. So I didn't even bother. All right. But so that's where we are with the budget schedule. So still nothing new in the Gazette, even as of today. All right. Now these 2 articles came out Friday. So, but here is Samir Al-Nasari. This I call him my buddy because he resembles my favorite uncle who's no longer, with us. But so Thursday there was an article out that he did. And remember I said it was favorable. It didn't go too far back in history. And yes. So I liked this part. There will be a breakthrough very soon by completing the above procedures. And then at the end, it ends with this will not take a long time. Right? Okay. So and this also was in Egypt's news. Okay, Egypt. I thought that was very interesting. So, if you didn't read it the first time, you could come back and read it again. So he talks about procedures that need to be taken. Why is the exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar fluctuating against the US dollar in the parallel market? So he is an expert. You can see he's got gray hair, that gray crown of wisdom, right? But he's been analyzing, been part of Iraq's banking system for a long time. So when he speaks, it's respected. Okay, so here he says Axis 12. And remember, I was like, I never heard of that. Where did that come from? Well, oh wait, and I have one more part bolded. What is this? Oh yeah. That's just talking about how they canceled the Chinese yuan. And he says they need to bring that back. They need to let them process in Chinese yuan again. And I apologize, I am speaking lower than normal. So turn up your volume. It just, when you live with people, that's sometimes how you got to do things. Okay, so this one, the U.S. Federal Reserve adopts a new strategy towards Iraq. The dollar is threatened with rising to unprecedented levels. So I see this as a threat, and I don't think it's good. And then it's confusing because we know we're the ones holding Iraq up. They've done all they need to do, right? I mean, other than it seems they are still finding ways to smuggle money out to Syria, Lebanon, and Iran. But that's not Sadani doing that. That's the crooked people. I mean, he can only go, hey, look, we know what you're doing. You know what you're doing is wrong. He can only say that so many times. But this article, I think you really should read it. So then you can judge for yourself, because there's someone in Dinar land who's smarter than I am, been in this longer than I am, that says, yes, it is a threat, but it's a good thing. And let's see. So here, the reason why I tied the two together was there's 3 axes. The first axis, second, and third. So are there 9 more that they need to go through to get to 12? I don't know, but it's funny. I don't believe in coincidences, and it seems very coincidental that Amir Al-Maamouri does that article talking about axes, and then 2 days later, this comes out with 3 axes in it. So, but anyway, so can we do just a little? I put, this sounds like a threat. Here's the economic researcher Hashimi revealed new information about the U.S. Federal Reserve's policy towards Iraq, expecting the dollar to rise against the dinar, which will create great pressure on the Iraqi banking system. So he goes on and says, and also, this was only in 2 publications. It wasn't all over the place. They weren't trying to have the citizens see this like they do sometimes. They'll put an article everywhere and they'll talk about it on TV. They didn't do that with this article. So that's another thing I find interesting. So he says some information from inside the corridors. So is this leaked information? Some information from inside the corridors of the Central Bank of Iraq. It indicates that the U.S. Federal Reserve has adopted a strategy different from its previous strategies towards the Iraqi economy, indicating that this strategy will be more stringent and will depend on 3 axes. And then they're here. One is the continuation of punishment of those banks. They haven't lifted the sanctions, and they'll continue indefinitely. Number 2, closing banks that continue to violate federal controls. So see, that's technically not in Sadani's hands. They're pointing out to them, we know you're doing this, stop doing it, so we can move on with our monetary reform, right? That's all he can do. And then the third, preventing the Iraq government from interfering in the dollar file, and for this file to be in the hands of the Central Bank of Iraq. For this file to be just in the hands of the Central Bank of Iraq. I think that means we'll take it. Because supposedly right now it is. Except for 2 banks, right? They gave 2 banks the right to go direct to us. But for the most part, the central bank is in control, supposedly, right? So, yes, there's more to this, but we're at 15 minutes and we have a lot to cover. So let's see. The last axis explains that the federal bank has detected, so that's us, we've detected political influences from the Iraqi government, noting the Iraqi central bank is today in a very embarrassing situation and is almost in trouble due to internal pressures on it to obtain a larger space for the dollar in its circulation. So the central bank will only be able to delay and postpone federal procedures for the longest possible period of time while achieving temporary protection from the Iraqi banking system and Iraqi dinar. So that tells me, that sounds like, look, enough is enough. This can't go on. If you don't handle it, we will. That's my phone. I apologize. Okay. He stated that the U.S. Reserve will not be able to wait forever, and it is expected there will be federal measures that may occur at any moment, and there will be a sudden and large demand for the dollar, which will lead to a decrease, and this is why I don't think it's good. It will lead to a decrease in the value of the Iraqi dinar against the dollar, which will generate great pressure on the Iraqi banking system, the Iraqi economy, and the official political system. So they're like, see, these few people over here are messing it up for everybody. Y'all done did all this work, all this progress, got the electronic system set up, and now it doesn't give a date, but I bet you they have a date in mind. So there seems to be acceleration. I think because perhaps maybe something that's going on in our country over here. This is one example of acceleration. Okay? All right. Here is look, Iraq speeds up, steps to join WTO. That I wasn't even thinking about this. This just came out today. I didn't even read it. You guys know I don't care about the WTO. I think it has nothing to do. Okay, I did. I read it. See these parts. I glanced over it. Okay, I did a real quick. Is there anything new? Whatever. And I bolded these two sentences, right? So I didn't do a thorough reading of it, okay? See, I just can't lie. I know it seems crazy, but I just can't. And there's a reason for that, because of who I claim to belong to. Certain things I'm not supposed to do, and when I do them, I get cut. All right. So, yeah, so if you want to read that, that's there. Here, Minister of Finance receives draft regulation and restructuring of Ramadan and Rashid banks. So here, the audit, they're doing of both to merge them together. There may be something in here about acceleration, but it's just saying they're going to make them better, and they have been finding, if they've been finding things that are untoward, they've been publishing it in the paper for the citizens to see. Okay, here's another meeting with Egyptian businessmen. Egypt. All right, here's more back and forth, typical of Iraq. 2 days in a row. We're not going to get the oil and gas law done this year. Here's another one. Rules out legislation of oil and gas law. But here comes Sunday. Parliamentary committee expects oil and gas law to be approved soon. Delayed because it is a political pressure card. That's my phone going off. Okay, and I think, so they express optimism. Here, this is one of the laws that's been suspended for 19 years. So if you read this, it almost seems like they want to say, we want to get these laws done. There's 150 laws that have been suspended, some of them for 19 years. We want to get them done. Acceleration. So these articles are, here's another one talking about the loss of trillions from the budget tables. So if you want to read that. The central bank does not have the upper hand over the banking system amid financial and institutional corruption. So here they're pointing out what that other article said. You can't control the central bank. We'll come in and control it, right? Okay. Here's another economist. Replacing the relationship is not enough to solve the monetary crisis unless it's accompanied by new methodology. So they're saying we could play musical chairs with the CBI governor all day long, but if there's no change in the laws and the method, nothing's going to change, right? You could read that if you like. I thought this was interesting. This came out Friday, I believe. Saturday. Due to the extreme heat, tomorrow Iran will close all government centers and banks. That was Iran. So I was hoping possibly something would happen, but it didn't. But why only governments and banks? Everyone else has to go to work. Right. Anyway, expanding the electronic payment base is an important financial transfer. There's a nice little meme, and you can read that if you like. This is very interesting. This is an interesting article, in my opinion. Iraq's billionaires surge. Rampant corruption amid economic challenges. So, as usual, the rich get richer, and not in a good way, right? They're not on the up and up way through corruption. And they give numbers and years. Yeah, so if you'd like to read that, Iraq's poverty levels, they talk about that. It's short. It's very short. All right, so here's from Sunday. Here's another article. Paralyzed for 19 years, parliamentary optimism about passing the most important laws in Iraq. One of them is the oil and gas law. So again, it seems they want to accelerate. All of a sudden, we need to get these laws done. And is this, for some reason, no, this isn't it. Okay, here, Mahmoud Dagger. He is a veteran financial and banking expert. In fact, I think he was at one time something in the government regarding finance. Iraq needs a sovereign wealth fund to protect its economic future. And they have a little chart here, which again, it's in Arabic, but they're comparing them. Some of the words talk about this chart, other countries' sovereign wealth funds. And I believe this is how much money they have. Probably by the billions. Maybe millions. I'm not sure. But anyway, so if you want to read that, and they talk about how they need to move the rentier, all countries with depletable rentier resources and volatile prices have started establishing sovereign funds to protect their economies and promote growth. So yeah, so if you like stuff about economies and how they can form and grow, you'll like that article. Here's Iraq stores gold and expects it to rise in the next 2 months. Now, Iraq's gold reserves to rise over the next 2 months. Because I'm reading that and I'm thinking, do they mean the value of the gold or the amount? Owning gold is considered part of the investment portfolio that countries seek, and Iraq has been storing gold and increasing its reserves for many years, especially with expectations of its rise during the next 2 months. So I think they're talking about they're going to buy more gold in the next 2 months, right? So why? That's interesting in my opinion. And again, they're lumped in here with Qatar and their gold holdings. So, all right. Oh, good. Okay. So, okay, we're down to the military articles. Lots of military. So, urgent. 4 missiles fall on that base. base. This was July 26th. And the Pentagon confirms, yes, it did happen, but no U.S. personnel injured. 27th, new targeting of a base in Syria on the Iraqi-Syrian border. So this says third targeting in 3 consecutive days. Now, the reason I'm going over this, normally I wouldn't, but I wanted to. It says, what's the story of the Washington meeting? Talking about when our troops would leave, right? So if you want to read that, you can. But here, Sudani pressures factions to calm escalation against Americans. Seeks Tehran's support. And in case anyone doesn't know, Tehran is the capital of Iran. I'm presuming, I've read that. They put it in writing. But just because the West says something, especially about Iran, doesn't make it so, right? But I do know they will interchange them. They'll say Iran, sometimes they'll say Tehran. So it's an important city. All right, but so Sudani's asking Tehran for help to get these factions to calm down, right? I thought that was interesting. And then here, is this long? It's pretty long. Pretty boring. But I read it. Okay, so why did Iraqi militias resume operations against Americans? Really? Did they really have to ask that? We know why. Because they want our troops gone, and our troops are not gone. And we're not even giving them a solid date, right? We said, oh, we'll start drawing down in September. But, yeah. So, and also the point about this publication is when it's printed in a UK publication, but it goes out to 5 or 6 places where Arabic speaking people are. I don't want to offend anybody, okay? And I don't know the proper stuff. Anyway, okay, so here, see, the pro-Iranian factions in Iraq, Syria, and Iraqi factions have backed off from their attacks they had, but not anymore. All right, so, and also, I think I have, okay, new targeting, okay, we read that, right? Yeah. To reduce the threats of the fractions, look what we did. We sent 2 planes. I'm not going to say the name of the plane, but kablooey, right? To the Middle East. So that's kind of escalation, right? So if you want to read that, that's there. Washington is delaying the confirmation of the withdrawal clause from Iraq. And a member of parliament thinks that's urgent. And that came out today. All right, so if you want to read those articles in full, they are there. They are at the bottom of the blog. I just had a thought. Okay, let's see. Look at this. This is expansion. Let's see. Ice Cream Land, kablooey in southern Lebanon. So, remember they talked about it maybe 2, possibly even 3 weeks ago? They said, we are thinking about doing this. And Iran was like, you ought not do that. Remember that? And some of the Islamic resistance in Iraq, some of them deployed themselves into Lebanon. Remember that? Well, there you have it. July 28th. They did it. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. If there's any retaliation. So that's not good. I don't think that will directly affect the RV, but it's expansion of the regional conflict. There's a 3-letter word that starts with W, right? But you can't say that. So I use conflict. All right. So that's it. All in all, it was a pretty busy weekend article-wise. Not much about the exchange rate. Just one article from Kurdistan, the marketplace. They expect the dollar rate to go down in the early part of this week. They didn't give a reason why. It just said the price was volatile. They were even apprehensive to sell the dollar because of the volatility. But for some reason, they think the beginning of this week, the rate is going to go down. So we'll watch that. We'll keep our eye on that. And all the other stuff we keep our eye on. So you're all caught up for this weekend. And let's see what happens this week. All right. I will say thank you. I will say if there is a follow, connect, subscribe, whatever button where you are enjoying this content, then by all means, tap that, swipe that. What's the other thing? Whatever it takes to activate it, do that. Because I don't update regularly, but if you initiate that and technology works like it's supposed to, when I update, you'll be notified. All right, accumulate while we wait for the rate to appreciate. Don't miss any meals and pay all your bills. Get educated. Man, there's so much going on. But if you're holding a currency, know how to say it. Know what you expect to get for it. Have it in order and counted. Yeah. All right. That's it. Enjoy the rest of your morning, night, noon, whatever time frame you're enjoying this content. Until next time.